For the second time in his young career, Keegan Akin was the victim of some defensive miscues behind him as the Orioles fall to the Red Sox 8-3, and we're breaking it down here on MASN All Access Xtras. We're joined by Jim Hunter. And Jim, we saw this 2 starts ago up in New York. Keegan Akin probably deserved better. The defense behind him just didn't quite get him enough outs to get him deeper into this game.
Yeah, it's something that unfortunately young pitchers have to learn. And the thing that I was impressed about that in the one inning, he didn't become unraveled. You know, you have 2 plays that have to be made. The leadoff man got on the throwing error by Rio Ruiz. He had all the time in the world, which sometimes works against an infielder. He didn't nonchalant it. He just airmailed the throw. But that's a play that has to be made. So instead of 1 out and nobody on, you have a runner on at first. And then later on in the inning, DJ Stewart simply just drops a fly ball. That should have been an out. And what that does, Paul, as you know, is it allows 2 more base runners on. That means Akin has to face 2 more batters, so that's more to the pitch count. And as the pitch count gets elevated, and, he had a pretty good night, I guess 94 pitches over the 4 innings, but he didn't walk a batter. So, you like to see the way he's working the count, the way he's challenging the hitters. Some of the strikeouts I was writing down, he got 1 on a high fastball, swing and a miss. He got 1 on a low fastball, swing and a miss. He got another on a called strike 3 on a low fastball. And then he had 1 on a changeup that floated to a right-handed batter about 3 feet outside the other way because he had the batter set up for it. And he not only threw the pitch, he executed it. So these are all things that he's learning. You could tell he has an idea, but you got to play ball behind him because in the big leagues, you just cannot give big league teams extra base runners, extra outs, and force that pitcher to have to get 5 outs in an inning. It's a disaster if that happens, and that's what happened to them tonight.
Jim, last year we saw the Orioles defense cause a lot of losses in a lot of games. It feels like they did tighten up the defense just a little bit to start this 2020 season, but we have seen them unravel at times during this year. How can Brandon Hyde fix this or try to address the defensive miscues that he has seen in this 2020 season? Is there something from a manager's perspective that he can do to try to alter this?
Well, from the manager's perspective, you have the lineup card, don't you? so you remind your younger players that the defense is as important a part of the game as your hitting. And then it becomes the position coaches who have to go out there and work the outfielders and work the infielders, working on the throws. I mean, these guys obviously know how to get it done, Paul. It was one of those nights. I mean, we can make light of it because it did contribute to the loss. There's no doubt about it. If they make the plays, it's a different game. Maybe Akin goes 5 innings. Maybe those 2 unearned runs in the inning where they committed the 2 errors in 1 inning don't come back to hurt them later on, and it's a different game. The other thing, too, is that I think you might be seeing a little of this with the moving around of the players defensively to see what they can do. If they have a regular everyday lineup, if Santander wasn't hurt, if Iglesias was able to play shortstop every day. I mean, Rio's the regular third baseman, so that's simply a throw that got away. And, tomorrow, if that same ball is hit to him, he's not going to airmail it because he's going to remember, take your time, but make a good throw and get that footwork going, as Mike Portick talked about on the broadcast tonight. But it's just a matter of reminding the players, and they know because they want to stay there. I mean, you and I have talked about this all season when we've done these post-game hits. These guys, this is an open audition to be in the mindset for the off season, which for this team begins Monday. And you want Mike Elias and the coaches for that matter. Okay, these are the guys we know we can build with. How do we supplement this as we move forward? And the guys in that locker room tonight, in the clubhouse, they don't know where they are on that depth chart or where they are in the thought process. So the best way to get higher on that depth chart and higher in the thought process is to go out there and play well. And defense is a big part of that.
One of those guys trying to make a strong impression and stick with this Orioles outfield long-term is DJ Stewart. You mentioned the costly error he had in left field, but he came in very scuffling at the plate, and he had a solid night there. He had a couple hits and a walk in that 9th inning as well. Good to see DJ get a little bit back on track because we've seen him be just a little bit streaky so far in 2020.
Yeah, and again, you could contribute that to pressing. I mean, these guys are human, and as we've been talking about, they're trying to show that they belong, and they're trying to show that they can be counted on when they're given the opportunity. The one equalizer with DJ that I really, really enjoy, and I know the club has to value, is his batting eye. He has a very good idea of what the strike zone is. And MASN had a really good replay in the one at bat when he was called out on strikes, and he said to the umpire, a pitch ago, that was a ball, now you call it a strike. And that umpire behind the plate did have a floating strike zone tonight. There's no doubt about it. But it's one thing about DJ which will enable him to have longer-term success, and that's understanding what his strike zone is. You're not going to be able to do anything about the umpire strike zone, but you know what your strike zone is. And that means you swing at hitters' pitches, you don't go after the pitcher's pitches, and you give yourself a better opportunity to barrel up the ball and put the ball in play. And that's one thing that he has had since he was first called up. You saw that right away. The kid has an idea of the strike zone. He has an idea. Now, obviously, every hitter is going to get fooled because it's just part of the game. The pitchers are that good. But if you can chase less time than not, you're going to have a better chance to succeed. And I really, really like his approach at the plate. And now it's just about consistency. And with these young hitters who are learning against the best hitters, and, somebody might say, well, the Red Sox are trying out these guys at the back end to see if they're part of their team next year. Well, yeah, but that last guy before he was taken out was throwing 98. So there are guys you have to put yourself against them competitive-wise and see where it goes. But if you have a good batting eye, that's a good place to start as a major league hitter.
Yeah, it's a great point. I remember DJ Stewart to start the season, even when he couldn't buy a hit, he still had an on-base percentage around 300 due to the fact that he was drawing walks, even though he could not make contact. So that is always a great fail-safe for a hitter, and great to see from a young guy like DJ Stewart. But Jim Hunter, thanks so much for hopping on MASN All Access Extra to break down this loss up at Fenway.
All right, Paul, always a pleasure. Have a good night.